Hello class, my name is Samuel Akumbom Tomboin. I'm a student in the College of Science, Engineering and Technology, the Grand Canyon University, and I'm studying in the master's program for cybersecurity. The title of this course is CYB 610-0500 Penetration Testing and Risk Management. The instructor is Dr. Howard Goodman, and then today's date is August 7, 2024. At the end of this presentation, I will append a link to the YouTube. I'll append the YouTube link to this presentation. So let's get into the first slide. So the first slide here, since our target for today is to compromise our Cuptrix one machine, access the root, and then create a user with privileged access. I actually started by setting the connections for my virtual machines. I realized I could not get an IP address when running an IF config on my Kali virtual machine. The network settings also showed that the wire cable was unplugged. I decided to switch my network adapter 1 to a bridge adapter, and then adapter 2 to a host only. So how I could get an IP address when I run the IF config, and the IP address was 192.168.1.14. So I did an Nmap scan as we did in the previous class uh, with an Nmap and on the my IP address, but with the last octet being 0/24. And then I could get my Cuptrix IP address. If you don't know how to get that, you can see on the screenshot right here, which is the Cuptrix IP address and how we did get it in the last class. And then onto the next slide, where to get full root access and how access to the system was gained, I will explain in the next few slides. So the first part was to identify the version of Samba. I used the command nmap. I used the command nmap switch p switch a 192.168.1.104. So switch P is to give you the operating system that is running. No, sorry, to give you the open port, the port of the VM, and then switch A is to give you details about the VM, such as the operating system, the version, the script scanning, and the trace route, and all of that. So when I ran this scan, as you can see in the screenshot here, I had several open ports. I can see. Actually, they're not showing. Okay, now I can see port 22, which is TCP. It's open. The service is SSH. But then I can see port 111 TCP, RPC bind. Yeah, there are a few ports here. But then I was interested in the 139 TCP, which is a NetBIOS SSN. If you remember in the last class, I told you about the NetBIOS SSN. So here's NetBIOS SSN. It's running a Samba SMBD. So Samba SMB, actually SMB is a server mail block, which is a service that functions in file and print sharing. So we have to dig deep and see what SMB does. So to do that, I decided to check the version of Samba that was running. So I used Metasploit framework. That's another tool used in penetration testing to determine the Samba version. So now that I know that the SMB is running on the Samba server, that's the service that carries out file and print sharing, is running on the Samba server. I will use the Metasploit framework to determine which version of SMB is running or which version of Samba is running. So to do this, I use the command MSF console as to set up the Metasploit console. You can see right here on my screenshot. That's the command right there, and it gets you this prompt, MSF6. It gives you the version of Metasploit v6.4.9-dev. Now that I got that, next thing was to identify, still in the process of identifying the Samba version. So I use the command use auxiliary scanner SMBs, use auxiliary / scanner / SMB / SMB underscore version. This is to run a different scanner to find out what type of SMB version is running. Like you can see, this is it right here. I made a few mistakes, but then I repeated that and got the right one. And then I set my R host. R host here is the IP address of the target machine or the target machine. L host is your machine, the listening machine. So I set the target machine to 192.168.1.104, which is of course the IP address of my Cubtrix. And then I hit run. So it presented the Samba version as Samba 2.2.1a right here. So I copied this information and Googled it. I'll show you in the next slide. So I Googled this information and look at what I got. Several information coming up. And I decided to use, what's it called? The second link right here, which talks about remote code execution. That is what I'm interested in. I want to be able to do some remote code execution. And then I clicked on that to get more information. And behold, I did get more information. And then look at that. So when I was prompted with this page, I took note of this 10 sitting right here. You will see why it's important in the course of this presentation. And then I chose not to download the exploit. I chose to view the exploit by clicking on this. And look at here, the Samba version. Here is 2.2.x. And we had 2.2.1a. So this is a little bit higher, but which is okay. And we know that this the OS is Linux right here. And we saw that in the previous slide. So I clicked on the view and copied the whole raw code. So when I copied the whole raw code, I went back to my Kali Linux command line as root, not in the Metasploit framework. This is back in the Kali Linux command line as root. And I used the VI editor to create a file called 10.c. So this 10, I'm referring to what I got from the Google search. So I then, after running the command VI the 10.c to create the 10.c file, press enter. And of course, it opens up this new file, and I press I, which gives me the opportunity to insert whatever I want to insert. You can see the insert button showing here. It means I can insert tools. And then I pasted the raw code that I copied from the Google search. This is it right here. And then I press escape, press shift and the colon button to have a semicolon, and then WQ, that's to quit, save and quit, and I press enter. And look at the prompt. Now we're going back to our Kali Linux root prompt, and look at that. After doing colon, WQ, and enter, I'm here. So I type the command list, which the ls command, which will list you the files that are in that were created. And behold, I have 10.c right here. That looks good for me right now. So the next thing I have to do here, or I had to do, sorry, was to use a compiler to run the 10.c file that I created. So the command is gcc space 10.c space switch o 10. The switch o here is for output file, and the 10 just indicates, I want the file to be called 10, since I'm still referring to the file that I got from the Google search. And there you go. After running that command 10.c, I then use the command ./10. This is running the executable now, making the output that was derived from running this compiler the output is, the file is 10. So I'm making the file an executable by using dot / and the file name, which is 10, and pressing enter. And it tells me what? Samba 2.2.8 remote root exploit by ESDEE and all that. And it gives me options. There's a platform, there's a tab, there's IP address, MAC. I'm interested in this first one, the platform. So I'll use a switch B to run the platform on this one. Let's look at that in the next slide. Sorry. So I used this is in this slide. I'm running the command using platform. So I use the executable. Since I had several options from the executable, I use the command dot /10, which is running the executable, space switch B, which is the platform that we got from up here. You can see I've highlighted it, and then 0, which is for the Linux operating system, just as you can see labeled out here. After brute force in this parenthesis, you see 0 equals to Linux. So I'm telling this computer that run this executable run this file 10. I made an executable, so it's dot /10, and then switch B is for the platform, and then it should run against the operating system Linux, and I use the IP of my target virtual machine with the Kyoptrix one. And after running that, you can see it shows me here that it worked. It was a successful operation. All right, now that we're here, we have to try to get into root and get the target of this exercise is to create an account and give it elevated privilege. So I used the present working directory command pwd to see where I was. I was in, of course, I was in the 10 folder. I used the change directory space dot to come back to the present working, to come back to the home folder. You can see in the screenshot right here. This is just trying to get to root. Why here I used the list command, that's the ls command, to list all files and directories in the home directory. Look at that. So I see what? There's a directory here called root. So to see root, I changed directory into root. So I did a cd root. I did a cd root, and after I did a cd root, I did an ls-l, so a long list of the root directory, and I got presented with these two files right here. And then I decided to do an ls-a, which shows me even the hidden files in this directory. And look at this, I have several of them. I have this interest in this one called bash history. Let me tell you why. So bash saves a shell's history list to your disk by appending the content entries to the bash history file. So I use the cat command to view the contents of the file. So it's just cat-bash underscore history, like you can see in the next slide. There you go. So you can see, where are you? Over here. Oh, right here. So cat-history. So you see what is contained here is ls mail, clear, echo, and all of that. And you would have seen something here that is not showing this screenshot. Is because I tried this already. I tried this twice already and opened all the emails. When I tried the first time, I had an email that I opened which said, if you're seeing this, I've forgotten the real wordings, you won the prize, you are in root or something, which told me that I was in root. But I did this several times, so all of those emails were open, and that's why you see here it says no mail for root. But then I checked my PWD, my present working directory is root, and then I changed the password just using PASSWD. There you go. I put in the password. It tells me it's a bad password, which is based on directory word. I don't care. I went ahead and mashed the bad password, and it says all authentication tokens updated successfully. So I got into Kyoptrix, but then just to confirm, I went to my Kyoptrix VM And behold, look at that. I use root as a username and the password, and look at that. Last login, and root at Cuptrix, uh, root. So I'm able to sign in as root with a new password that I created. But I want to create a user and give that user elevated permission. So I use the user add command to create a user in uh, Cuptrix. Since I'm signing as root, I don't need to use the sudo command. I just go ahead and do password, no, sorry, user add, then my last name, which is for the name of the user I want to create, just to follow the instructions on the questions. This is it right here. So user add my last name, and then to give it a password, I said password and the user, which is my last name. Then I put in the password twice. Now to give the user elevated privilege, I added the user to the root group. And how do I do that? So I use a user mode. The user mode is like the user modification command. So user mode dash or switch capital G, which is for group, and the group is root and the user is this. And look at that. I tried to SU into the user, and I was prompted for a password. Put in the password, and there you go. Tom Buen at Cuptrix root. So this is a successful one. I succeeded to gain root access into Cuptrix, created a user, and made that user a root user or an elevated command. Let's talk about some few mitigation steps that we could take to prevent this. So there are many mitigation strategies to put in place to stop vulnerabilities from being exploited. So let's just talk about the particular one that relates to this exercise we just did. So the first I always think about is to enable firewalls. Firewalls are usually the first line of defense for systems and networks. So like in the last class, I did some scanning and some ports. Those statues were showing filtered, which means they were behind a firewall or some other kind of device that was blocking the Nmap scan from seeing what was on the port. So that is if we had if the Cuptrix device or VM was behind a firewall, I'm sure that the 139 port that we exploited would have been filtered so much so that we wouldn't be able to access it. Another mitigation technology will be to monitor activities. So there are tools such as intrusion detection or intrusion prevention tools that help to protect systems from being hacked. So these tools are built to monitor abnormal behavior or traffic on systems and networks. As soon as certain threshold, is reached, it triggers an alert that will notify the security team as to such behavior, so they can take the necessary measures to protect the systems. Another mitigation technology will be to enable strong authentication. Okay, just look at this scenario that we just went through. Um, a strong authentication technology will be two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. This means that when you log into an account or you try to make changes into an account, you are prompted through another software, maybe on another device, to verify that you are actually the one trying to carry out that activity. So, for example, if two-factor authentication was set on the root account for Cuptrix, when we actually compromised it and tried to reset the password or to set a password, it would have prompted the user on another device, maybe a cell phone, and say, hey, something is, you're trying to change your password. You are trying to change your password. Put in this code to confirm that it's you. And if that was the case, the user would understand that they're trying to hack his password and he will not confirm it and will not have been successful. Lastly, here we can always close ports. There are certain ports that should be open for communication, necessary communication. But if they are not being used, if they do not need to be open, close them. Okay, let's talk about attacks, and let's talk about the taxonomy of attacks right here, very quick. So attack family is this description. We have some few examples on the question list, like 8 of them. So buffer overflow. So this is a software coding error or vulnerability that can be exploited by hackers to gain unauthorized access to corporate systems. Sorry. So because when the amount of data is in a buffer, so let's assume a buffer just being something that carries data. In the buffer exists its storage capacity. So the buffer has an amount of data that it can carry at once. So imagine that there's more data in the buffer than it can carry. It overflows to adjacent memory locations and corrupts or overwrites data in those locations. So attackers can use buffer overflow to actually exploit vulnerabilities. So in such a case, an attack takes place when an attacker manipulates the coding error to carry out malicious actions and compromise affected systems. The attacker alters the application's execution path and overwrites elements of its memory, which amends the program's execution path to damage existing files or expose data. These are categorized as attacks targeting operating systems. Now let's look at privilege escalation. This is exactly what we did in the exercise. This still falls under attacks targeting operating systems. It is a technique where a sidebar attacker compromises a system to gain access. It is typical in that when access is compromised, the target is to get privileged access, just like what was achieved in the lab here. Exactly. So the next kind of attack will be rootkits. So rootkits are malware-based attacks. Yeah, malware-based attacks. They are commonly defined as a type of malware that enables cyber criminals to gain access and infiltrate data from machines without being detected. So just think of an advanced persistent threat right here. Rootkits have the characteristics of being so stealthy, so much so that they can last in the system or network for quite a while undetected, and then carry out the intended activities. So Trojans also fall under malware-based attacks. So these are malicious software intended to harm or exploit any programmable device, service, or network. It derives its name Trojan horse from a classical war story. I don't know if you've watched the movie Troy, Brad Pitt. You will understand what Trojan is. You see the statue, the wooden statue of a horse, a very huge horse that was built and given to, I've forgotten the people of that series name, as a gift. Meanwhile, it contained soldiers that will come out at night and attack the whole city and cause mayhem. So this is exactly what a Trojan is. It disguises itself as if it was something nice and fools the user to click and execute, the program. And when that is done, cyber criminals can then perform many actions on the user's computer, like deleting files or modifying data in files, you know, so, like I said, it's also a malware-based attack. So, backdoors. Here, the attack it is a method of sidestepping normal authentication process or procedures to gain unauthorized access to a system. To execute a backdoor, an attacker exploits a weakness or vulnerability, or install software that creates an entry point for the attacker. A backdoor attack can lead to privilege escalation, like what we saw earlier, lateral movement to other systems, or deletion of sensitive data and disruptions to operations. This can also be classified under malware-based attacks. Let's look at the last ones right here. This is a long video. Okay, viruses. Viruses are also similar to Trojans and all of that. So these are all malwares too. They are all malicious software that have the intention of fooling the users to click them and then execute them so that the cyber attacker can have the programs run and create mayhem in the systems and disrupt normal operations. Return-oriented programming. So this one, it says this is a computer security exploit technique in which the attacker uses actually quoted this guy with the curious name D12. Let me go back there. D12 and all of that. And lastly, we have references. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you. Have a nice day.